Hey, Jenna Matlin here, your friendly psychic tarot reader. So I talked about brain differences, talked about psychic differences, but I want to take a minute to really talk about the difference between being psychic and being intuitive, because the industry and I myself often use the word interchangeably, but technically they're not necessarily the same thing. So I tend to think of it as being on a spectrum. So to be intuitive, what does that mean? Intuitive processing is coming from the right side of your brain, and what it normally means is that information or an answer to something kind of just shows up in your conscious mind, but you can't consciously explain how you got to that answer or information. And that looks a lot like psychic ability, but here's the difference. Intuition is still using reason and speculation. It's just doing it from a different kind of system than logic, where logic is like 2 + 2 = 4, and I can show you exactly how I got here. Intuition is doing a big kind of chaos theory number crunching somewhere in your brain without you largely being aware of it, and pulls in your wisdom, it pulls in things that you've learned, and it makes incredible leaps and connections. That is the gift of the right brain hemisphere. And that is what Albert Einstein really was talking about when he says that it's intuition that's the gift, and logic is the servant of that gift. And what he meant by that was some of the biggest scientific insights came from the intuitive mind that somehow figured out to make these crazy connections that you could not really get to in a logical fashion. We're starting to see AI doing really interesting things like that. Like, how are they coming to some of these leaps and conclusions that were not, that even we don't understand how they got there? That's intuition. Now, being psychic is different, because being psychic means that information has somehow come to you that you have no prior knowledge of. Somebody's first name, their favorite dessert. There's no way you had any prior knowledge, especially if that person you don't know. And so there's no logical, conscious or unconscious leap that could have been made for you to have gotten that information. So to be psychic means to get information, but we don't know how you got that information. You didn't get it from your 5 senses, and it isn't something that you can like speculate towards. But it often feels the same as intuition, where it just kind of arrives. So sometimes that can get a little confusing. So psychic information is information that you had no way of knowing that you can then also verify. Intuition is utilizing what's already here, but it's deep in the back room, but it shows up in a really surprising way as well. So sometimes people use those interchangeably, but if we're careful and understand what the difference is, we can be watching for both of them and use both of them in tarot readings. Isn't that neat?